Hi, and welcome back to the Black Alchemy Podcast. I'm Rachel.
My name is Carlos. Today in the studio we have Emma Bango. She's the regional manager for NYAP. Emma, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you feeling?
Good. A little nervous, but happy to be here.
Don't be nervous.
Please
don't. Before we get into questions, why don't you just take a moment to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and how you got to NYAP?
Yeah, my name's Emma Bango. I'm the regional manager at NYAP. I was actually born and raised in Jackson, Mississippi.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So I went to college down in Alabama and then came up to Ohio for graduate school in art therapy and counseling. And so after I graduated, I was going to work for a few years, get my independent license, and then go back down south somewhere. But met my husband, and now we have 3 kids and life in Cleveland. I started off as a school-based therapist, and then I did PRN work as a art therapist at an inpatient unit, and then I did a lot of work there until I transitioned to NYAP as a treatment coordinator / clinical supervisor in our foster care department, and then slowly worked my way up the last few years. So I've been with NYAP since 2019.
Nice. So that takes us into our first question. So for those who may not be familiar with NYAP, can you just explain a little bit about NYAP, the work that you guys do, the services that you provide?
Yeah, so we are a foster care organization. We have a whole foster care department, and we provide treatment coordinator services. So our foster parents have a child join their family, and then our treatment coordinators go out every week and meet with the kids, meet with the parents, see how things are going. We also have a outpatient department to provide mental health services, both in the community, school-based services, so we're in schools throughout Cleveland and Lorraine.
Okay.
And then we also have a Bridges program, which for youth who age out or emancipate from foster care. Our Bridges program focuses on the young adults 18 to 21, just to help give them extra support, help them with finding a job, housing, if they're in college, teaching them how to maintain a budget so that when they are 21 and age out of Bridges, that they have the skills they need to be successful. And then we also have a adoption department, and when a child goes from a foster care placement to an adoptive placement, they really guide the family through the whole process from match staffing to the adoption day.
Nice.
That's awesome. So National Adoption Month shines a light on the importance of permanent families for youth in care. So from your perspective, what's the most misunderstood part of the adoption process so far?
I think how long it takes. Adoption is not a short process. It's not an easy process. It is a long, labor-intensive process, and it can take 2 routes. So you can have a child join your family as a foster care placement. They are with your family, and then maybe the county decides that reunification is not an option or kinship is not an option. And if that foster parent is also an adoptive parent, then maybe they decide, hey, I want them to be a permanent member of my family. And so then you go into a match staffing, and then you go through the whole adoption process. But just getting to that point from entering foster care to becoming an adoptive placement can take up to 2 years.
Yeah.
Because bio families have 2 years to work their case. And so I think sometimes people think, oh, I want to adopt, so I can sign up, go through all the classes, and I'll get a placement, because there are so many kids who need homes. And it'll be done in 6 months to a year. And unfortunately, adoption's a long process, so it really is trying, and it's long, and it just, I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions is how long it actually takes.
So for those who may not be familiar with the foster care system and adoption and stuff, how that works, can you speak a little bit to working the plan? So when you say that, just so people know, what does that look like? Who are the key players? Who forms the plan?
So a child comes into foster care. They are then joined into a home, and they're assigned a county worker, and the county worker works with the bio family to come up with a case plan. And so the unique thing is, if a foster parent's with an agency like NYAP, we are there to support the foster family and the child through the whole span of the case plan. The county creates a case plan for the bio family. And it could be taking parenting classes, it could be finding stable housing, it could be being sober for so many months consecutively before your child can come home. It could be taking domestic violence courses. So their case plan could be detailed in any sort of way. And so the family, every 3 to 6 months, we have an SAR. So everyone comes to the table. The county worker, the supervisor, NYAP if you're with NYAP, the foster parent, the bio family, just to see how the child is doing in the foster home and how the bio parent is working their case plan.
How they're adjusting.
And seeing if the bio parent's making progress. And so as these SARs go on, we start to see an idea of if the child will reunify, if there's a kinship option, or if adoption is kind of where we're leaning towards. Cases, the temporary custody takes 2 years. And once we're at that 2-year mark, the county starts looking to see if permanent custody is where the case is headed. And if the county and the courts file permanent custody, the bio parent, or if it's a kinship person, they're able to appeal twice. So every appeal adds 6 months to the case.
Wow.
So they can appeal. Obviously, the courts cannot grant the appeal if they just see that they have consecutively not worked their case plan. Or they can appeal and then it extends the case even further. And so that's kind of how the trajectory of that whole process goes.
Yeah. It's a tough process.
It is.
We were, just as a foster and adoptive father, it's a lot of times we always think about the children, but when you take a moment to think about the foster caregiver, the anxiety that you have on a daily basis, because as you're bringing these children into your home, especially, like in my situation, I brought my babies home from the hospital.
Yes.
So as you're raising these kids and you tell yourself, you're going to support them, you're going to be there for them, you're going to have these boundaries so, you don't get too attached just in case, because we always want to support reunification when possible and when safe. But just every day, I remember having, that thought like, is this gonna be the day someone comes to get my kids?
Anxiety of it.
Anytime you see your phone ring and it's a county worker, like, are they calling to tell me?
Yeah.
So just saying that to speak to what Emma was saying, the process, it's very long. And, there are, those people back in pre-service training, they're like, oh, we're gonna do this packet and I'm gonna get this little tiny baby and, we're gonna be adopted. That's not the case, But that takes us into our next question. After working so closely with, like, the children, the families, just the ins and out of the system, what personally motivates you to continue to do this line of work?
I think it's a sense of belonging. So, like, I feel like as a kid, you go through moments where maybe you don't feel like you belong to your friend group or this group or whatnot. And I know I had those feelings as a kid, but I always knew I belonged to my mom. And so I think just knowing that I'm helping kids and parents find their sense of belonging and their person who they know will go into the building and defend them and light it on fire on the way out. Just knowing like you have that person I think that's what keeps me going and then getting to see the happy endings of like they found their person that's going to defend them to the end. So things like that.
Of course. And don't ever apologize for being emotional.
I love my job.
Fine. It speaks to your heart. So I'm grateful to see that. I was actually going to ask case structure. Who determines that part of it? Is that the judge? Is that a combination of everyone involved? Who comes up with case structure?
So in terms of the case for bio parents or on that end of things, it really is like the county and the courts working together to decide what a case plan needs to be or what a case plan needs to look like for the bio parent to successfully be reunified with their child.
Okay. So something I wanted to know.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff for sure.
Piqued my interest. So we often hear that older youth and sibling groups are harder to place. So what are some creative and effective ways that NYAP helps find forever homes for those children?
So NYAP was actually founded on working with the most difficult kids.
Wow.
And I hate to put it that way, but those kids who have struggled to find their home or their forever placement. And so that's what NYAP was actually founded on, is we will find a home for everyone. And so I think being able to be flexible and be creative, we do have a really strong outpatient department, and we're continually trying to come up with what's a new type of group we could do. Would groups be beneficial? What service are we missing for those teens that they could utilize? So I think we also have like TA services, which is just like helping kids get out into the community so they can kind of break away from the mundane. So some of my goals are to bring like consistent groups so that teens cannot feel like they're struggling alone. Because I think sometimes we feel, especially those teen years, like we're alone, no one understands. So I think just knowing, hey, there's someone else who's dealing with depression or anxiety is like a nice thing to have that cohort.
What would you say are some of the stigma that's surrounding teens in care? You know,
I think some of the big stigma is like they're bad or they're criminals or things like that, and that's not the case. Like, I think sometimes people think if a teenager is still in foster care, it's their fault, and that's absolutely not the case. Like, no child chooses to be in foster care. No child chooses that their parents may have passed away from whatever it was, and they don't have any other bio family that can take care of them. So those are like the big stigmas, or that they're involved in gang activity, or that they just don't care. But deep down, every teen I've met in my work just wants a place to feel loved and to belong.
what are some of the ways that you think we can combat that stigma?
I think just being who we are and doing what we do every day, you know, taking in kids into our homes that the community thinks, well, there's no place for them, just stick them in a group home until they age out. Or I think just showing up speaks more than just like knowing in your mind, oh, well, they're not a bad kid, so show up for them. Go to that event, like welcome them into your home, and just giving, I mean, everyone deserves a chance. So I think that's one of the big things is just give them a chance.
So, I'd like to know, the path to adoption can be emotional and complex, of course. What role does the community have as far as like awareness and education? How does that play into helping the families?
I think because adoption is so complex, like finding those support systems. Like we've been talking a lot about bringing different types of support groups to NYAP, so that, because the road to adoption is a long one, and it's hard, and it's not perfect, and things are major hiccups. So I think just having that place where they can go and have their feelings about it and vent about it is really important. And then just the community, like, supporting, if, let's say you have a friend who's adopting, go take a meal, you know? Like, be part of the celebration of the adoption. And so I just think there's a lot of misunderstanding around adoption, especially out of foster care. So I think if we just treat everyone with grace and welcoming and just understanding, that's really what they need.
So can you speak to, since we're on adoption, you know, who can adopt? I think sometimes people think that there has to be this cookie cutter.
No,
Like,
anyone.
you know, I have to be married, I have to
Nope.
be this, I have to make this amount of money.
I
can't
definitely
be
thought
on,
that.
you know, a
I've-
fixed income.
yeah,
So can you
yeah.
kind of speak to, you know, what can qualify
So
you to be a
true.
foster and adoptive parent, things of that nature?
I mean, NYAP welcomes every person who's interested in fostering, and you don't have to be married. We have single parents. We have married couples. We have members of the LGBTQ community who are foster parents. We have people of every race, ethnicity who are foster parents because that's what our world is made of. That's what our kids are.
Yeah.
All of our kids are of different backgrounds. So you don't have to be in a specific relationship, make a certain income to be a foster or an adoptive parent.
That's good to know. What are some of the common challenges families face while navigating the foster to adopt system?
Question.
I think that is your answer right there. It's the system. It's a very complex system that we have to navigate, and you know, there's paperwork that goes along every way, and especially in adoption, if there's one piece of paperwork missing, it might push the adoption back until we get that piece of paperwork. So it really is just being able to like go with the flow and know that it's not going to be a smooth ride. There are going to be hills and there's going to be hiccups, and just knowing that, like, especially at our agency, like, we're going to be there along the way, you know? And, like, there will be, because we're humans, there will be times where we missed a piece of paperwork, and we apologize, and we all work together to get the adoption done as quickly as possible. But I think just knowing that it's not as easy as going from point A to point B.
Yeah, it's a battle.
So, as a regional manager, I'm sure you've seen the ups and the downs, plenty of success stories and challenges, as Rachel just spoke about. What is a moment of, I don't know, transformation or an inspiring moment that has stuck with you throughout the years?
I think there's been a few. Well, every adoption is a big moment for me, or even every reunification, because if a bio parent can successfully work their case plan, like watching their kids go home is great too. Because at the end of the day, we just want a family for everyone. There's been a few like key cases where, it's usually our teens. The two stories I'm thinking of are teens who have aged out and have kind of gotten lost, and we don't know where they've gone. And we just had our Fall Fest this past week, and one of our previous teens walked through the door with her little baby, and I was just like, how are you? Like, this is awesome. And it was because she had kept in touch with her previous foster mom, and she was like, hey, come to this event with me. And so she's in school, she's in a stable relationship. So I'm like, that right there is why we do it. Like, and I think a lot of times people might think that a foster parent has a child join their family, they're reunified, and they never hear from them again. But so many of our parents are like, they keep in touch with every kid who's walked through their door. And so I'll be like, hey, how's this kid doing? They're like, oh yeah, I talked to him last week. So they never really leave their foster family, and they always know their foster parents who were there for them when they were in care are still there for them when they're at home or emancipated or on their own.
So for people who are listening or maybe hesitant to want to foster or adopt, what would you say to them to help them take that first step if they don't know where to start?
I would say just pick up the phone. Or, you know, if they have like been researching online and they're like, I think this agency would be a good agency for me to work with, pick up and call them. You know, like, hey, I just want to know more. Or do you have a foster parent I could talk to learn more about foster care? Or if they want to attend a pre-service class just to get an idea of what it's like. Just pick up the phone. Like, there's nothing I like more than talking to someone who's interested in being a foster parent. Like, yeah, come on. I mean, come down to the office. Let's have a conversation. So,
Awesome.
Can you share some insight on the differences of coming in and getting licensed through, like, maybe a county versus getting licensed through an agency? And knowing which one is for you.
Right. So with an agency, you will come in, go through pre-service, you will work with our licensing team, and they will make sure you've done your training, done your background checks, have all your alternative caregivers ready to go. And then you will kind of transition over to the foster care team. So I'll be notified, hey, we have a new foster parent, they're licensed officially today. Great. We learn what age group, or if there's a specific gender, because they only have one bedroom for kids and they already have a child. And we kind of learn all those little details. And then in theory and hopes, they will have a child join their family. And then our foster care team would go out within 24 hours, meet the kid, family, and then we really try to wrap you those first 90 days. We're out every week, kind of assessing the situation to see if, do we think mental health services would be useful? Do we think a treatment advocate would be useful? Just to make sure that the child feels fully, and family feels fully supported through the whole transition. And then even after those 90 days, we continue to come out weekly if it's warranted. Maybe it's bi-weekly or once a month, depending on the needs of the child. And then, so you get the added like support and cushion of just knowing that you have people there 24/7. We have an on-call number, so even if it's outside of business hours and a foster parent, maybe a kid fell and hit their head and needs to go get stitches, but they can't leave their other kids, our on-call team will take the kid to the hospital, make sure they get the stitches they need, and then so we really, as an agency, try to support you 24/7 throughout your whole journey in foster care.
So NYAP is known for focusing on the whole child, not just the placement. As a regional manager, how would you say that you ensure the support for the youth while in care is adequate and they're receiving what they need?
I think that's where the benefit of having an outpatient department comes into play, because if we do see a child in need of mental health services, we can send a referral and they're right down the hall and we can see, hey, who's the therapist going to be? Can they go out this day? This is when the treatment coordinator is going to be there just to meet the kid. And there's some things, I've been in this role about a little over a year, and so I have some goals for the future. I would like to be able to have support groups for our teens and young kids that we're working with. I'd like to bring in art therapy, because I'm also an art therapist, doing groups with our kids. So I think just having that outpatient department easily accessible makes it a lot easier to get those services in place, because so many mental health agencies have really long wait lists, so it is really hard to get services immediately.
What would you say is the most challenging part about your role in NYAP, or just working in foster care in general?
I think it's really hard or challenging to find the right balance of making sure everyone feels supported, because that's my ultimate goal. Is I want all of our foster parents to feel supported. I want all of our kids to feel supported. I want all my staff to feel supported. And so sometimes I think it just happens naturally. I might hyperfixate on one area than the other, and I'm like, no, my goal is to make sure everyone feels supported. So I think, you know, taking on this role, it was a lot. It was a huge transition from just focusing on foster care to focusing on everything. But that is really where I want to focus, or I have been working to focus and moving forward, is making sure that all members of the NYAP family feel supported.
What would you say is the most rewarding part of what you do?
I think just getting to watch everyone thrive in different ways, like watching a kid who's maybe really been struggling with tantrums or outbursts learn a coping skill so that those tantrums and outbursts decrease. Or maybe there was a foster parent who was really hesitant to take a teenager because their kids maybe haven't been aren't teenagers yet, but then they take a teen and it's a great fit. Or seeing staff who maybe joined our team as a treatment coordinator but got their master's and are now a therapist. or seeing a team member who really found a passion for foster care and wants to work their way up. So just like getting to see everyone thrive and find what their calling is, because I think one thing, like, I know this is my calling, and so it makes my job have that much more value. So when I can see other people find it, it's really nice.
Who inspires you?
Lots of people. My mom was a single parent, and she had a rock star career, and so watching her as like her child just kind of be this awesome person in her field was really, like, I mean, it helped me build the confidence to go into the field I wanted to or take on this role. My kids inspire me. I know that's a really cheesy answer, but my oldest daughter had lots of health issues when she was born, and now she's 6 and in kindergarten and running around, and we didn't think she'd make it to 6 and in kindergarten and running around. So just getting to watch her be a average kid is a really beautiful thing. A lot of our kids inspire me too, especially the ones when they come to us from a really rough situation, and watching them thrive in school, graduate, go to college. I think it's all the little things of every day that inspire me in this work.
So I will say, everybody knows I'm a foster and adoptive parent. To the viewers out there, I am actually with NYAP, and I want to take a moment to really just personally thank you, Emma, because my children, they're medically fragile. There were some really tough times in the beginning. I was not sure if they were going to make it, just a lot of complications, and Emma was there every step of the way. There would be times where I knew Emma was out. She wasn't at work, you know, things were going on with her kids. Anytime I called her, she picked up the phone. If I needed anything, you know, there were times where I would, you know, one twin would be in the hospital in isolation, another's at home, and we had people from NYAP, you know, taking turns babysitting, you know, feeding babies, changing diapers, and Emma really made sure I had the support that I needed. And you know, it's that sense of community. I'm not special, you know, that's something that she does for everybody there. So I really just wanted to take a moment to thank you and to give you your flowers, because I feel like you work in a role that is very difficult, and you know, everybody can't be pleased. But I really I hope that you're proud of yourself and the work that you do, because you do amazing work.
I appreciate that. I love the work I do.
So I have one more thing for you. As you guys know, Emma, she leads a team at NYAP. Some social workers, some are not. But if you can just take a few minutes and just speak directly to your team.
Oh, man.
You know, and I won't, you know, if you want to call individuals out, you can, but I just want you to speak to your team. I don't know if they'll see this episode, but what are the things that you don't think that they know, but you want them to know?
I want them to know that I see the small moments. I see when they're really tired and exhausted and just want to call off, but they go out to the home because their family needs them, or they decorate the office at 7 o'clock for Harvest Fest because they've been so busy with clients that they haven't had a chance to come decorate their door, or that they spent time making back to school bags for all their kids before they went back to school this year. So I want them to know that it's hard work, and I know it's hard work, and I see the small moments and how hard it is, and that everything you do matters to the kids and the families that we help.
Sorry to make you cry.
I'm a very emotional person in general, and then you have kids on top of that, and it's just like, here are my feelings.
Everything. Yep. Yeah, that's what they say about kids. They exaggerate everything. So.
But yeah, my employees, they know I'm a emotional person, especially in like the happy moments. I love like catching staff off guard and praising them for something, and so I have a good team around me, and I have people who have been there for years, and I have people that are just starting out in their career, and I'm really grateful for all the hard work that they do.
Well, I'd like to thank you for joining us here.
Thank you.
You are more than welcome to come back, bring your team.
Please.
And for anybody who is, thinking about foster care and adoption, do you want to just share some information with them so they can connect with you?
Yeah, feel free to go to our website, nyap.org, nyap.org, and you can see careers if you're interested in being a foster care worker or a therapist, and then also how to become a foster parent. And then you can see all of our locations throughout Ohio, because maybe you're closer to the Akron office or the Toledo office. And then if you just want more information, feel free to call the office, ask to talk to Emma. I'm happy to have a conversation.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Much. Thank you.
All right, guys, that's it for this episode. We'll catch you next time on the Black Alchemy Podcast.
Bye.